Hello everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we are back with another brand new video. Today's video, honestly I'm just glad that there's actual today's video because with the season being over, there's no more recaps, there's no more prediction videos per week and there's no SPFL show. I've got to fill in those days with actual creative content and let's be fair, that's not going to happen. With that being said, today's video is actually a user suggested question by one of you guys to talk about some of the players that's going to be leaving, so thank you for that one. But as always, just a friendly reminder in case you're new around here and you want to subscribe and give me some content ideas, the subscription button is down there. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, it just helps us on our way towards 55k. But without any further ado, let's just get into this then, shall we? 3, 2, 1. Players that I think will be leaving Rangers this summer. If I'm honest with you, I'm going to give you 5 main ones. Now, there's a lot of them because we have got a really enormous squad. It's absolutely frightening when you actually look at it. How much wage budget per week has just been absolutely pissed down the drain with boys that's getting nowhere near the first team. So before we discuss any further of the 5 first team players I think will be leaving Rangers Football Club this summer, let's just get the obvious out of the way. Some of the boys that wasn't involved, some of the boys that's out on loan. Let's just do this rapid fire. First up, we have Lee Hudson. Obviously, it's Lee Hudson. I know I'm saying that as if I didn't have a Lee Hudson shirt, but seriously, Hudson, he needs to go. The next player is going to be Jason Holt. Now, Jason Holt's season did go pretty well down at Fleetwood, but he obviously suffered that injury. They are very, very keen on bringing the man back, so I'm pretty sure when he's fully fit and he's ready to go, he will return to Fleetwood under Joey Barton and Clint Hill's guidance. Next one up is going to be Herrera. That's right, Big Sexy himself. Too sweet. He's still here, still draining us dry with his reportedly 20 grand a week wages. You've got Harry Forrester's least favourite person at Rangers, Joe Dodo. The boy, to be fair, he had actually a very good spell at Blackpool for about 4 to 5 weeks where he looked like he was just red hot. But the kind of Joe story is he has these months where he's good and other months where he's absolutely invisible. It's probably why Harry didn't pass to him. Still too soon, that. Still too soon. In the last two, we've got Jack Annick, who spent the full season at Scunthorpe with 2 separate loans, which is quite weird because it was only supposed to be a 6-month loan. That was increased. Now we just wait to see if they come in and pay a wee bit of moolah to get the old Viking himself. And last but not least, this one hurts me right in here. I think Ryan Hardy will leave in the summer. And with that being said, that's us all done and dusted with the players that wasn't involved with Rangers last season. Now is the time we turn our attention to the first team, baby, and start breaking down this list. So start off with the first player we're going to be discussing, by the way, and this isn't like a normal 5 list which we've done in the channel where number 1 is the best out of the 5 who I desperately want to kick out the door. Nah, I've actually just done this 5 list of the 5 players I thought instantly right away who's going to be leaving. So right up was Kyle Lafferty, and that one is pretty damn obvious. And if you're just looking from an outside in kind of perspective, you look at his overall season, 37 games, 7 goals and 2 assists, you will label that as a flop all day, every day. But I think that the flop title is a bit harsh on Kyle Lafferty, and the reason I say that is yes, he's played 37 games, but look at the minutes played. I mean, I'd say at least 25 of them is about 10 minutes substitute appearances. So I'm not going to label him as a flop, but there was a final nail in the Kyle Lafferty Rangers career's coffin, and that came in the behind the doors friendly versus Liverpool, the infamous behind the doors friendly, which I'm going to be mentioning quite a lot, by the way. But just in case you haven't heard the story yet, after the game, Gerrard lambasted some of the players and said they were embarrassing. He said that numerous times in his actual statement, said they lacked desire and effort and work rate to play for the Glasgow Rangers, and said a couple of them have sand already on their sandals, and he was absolutely furious. By the way, the person that got substituted right away at half time was Kyle Lafferty, and we've never, ever seen him again, not even on the bench in any of the matches after that, so I think it's a definite Kyle Lafferty will be gone. The next name on my list is going to be Eros Grace. The man that's got so much talent, let's be fair. It's a bit of a weird one with this one, but it's so similar to another talented football player we'll be mentioning in a couple of minutes. It's just never quite worked out for him here at Rangers Football Club, and again, he's one of these ones that's been banished to the Nether realm that you'll never ever see again. Since that behind the doors friendly, he's never been involved. I think he's made the bench once and that's it. But you saw the odd glimpse here and there after he came back from his original injury where it looked like yes, there's a talented player in there, and it all came to head versus Motherwell where we absolutely slapped him 7-1, and Grezda was simply unplayable in that game. Nobody could touch him. He was doing skill moves back and forth, his passing was immaculate, he looked strong, he looked fast, but that was it. We waited for him to kick on, but what happened? He went away with Albania again ended up getting injured, and again, he's never been able to kick a ball since. He seems to drop whenever someone goes shoulder to shoulder with him, which really, really annoys me. I mean, the only time he ever went shoulder to shoulder with someone was in the Motherwell game. The rest of them, he's flopping about and then he's rolling about, holding his face. So all the stuff we didn't like seeing, and certainly know under the microscope at Rangers, it's never ever going to work. So Grezda's unfortunately going to be in my list, and just because he wasn't used at all in that audition game versus Kilmarnock, I just don't see Grezda coming back next year. The next player is going to be Barisic, and the reason I put Grezda and Barisic together because I think they're perfectly split down the middle, because everything I said about Grezda being talented, got so much potential, Barisic is that and even more, because you look at Barisic as a whole, there is clearly a very, very good football player in there. He isn't getting caps for the starting national team for Croatia, who just got to a World Cup final, if he wasn't a good player. And you think about the way he started this season, 7 assists in his first 14 games. It was frightening. I mean, it looked like as if we had a Tavernier on the left-hand side. Now we had Tavo on the right, burning forward, whipping balls in. We had Barisic down the left. It was exciting to watch. However, he got injured round about this time, and when he came back, he was a complete and utter shadow of himself, and he was always one of the weak points in our actual defence during that run after his first injury. You go back and think it was him and Joe Worrell, and they were getting torn a new arsehole, and I think Barisic kind of went under the radar a lot because everyone was focusing on Joe Worrell, but Barisic is just out his position just as much back then when you actually think back. So I think for Barisic, he's lucky stars that Joe Worrell was playing and took a lot of the heat, because he was putrid in those games as well. I mean, his best performance for the last 8 to 9 months of the season was for Croatia, where he got called up when he had been playing very, very badly for us, let's remember that. But not only did he play well for Croatia, he got an 8.5 on the match review, got rave reviews by the Croatian press, and got a higher rating than Luka Modric and Rakitic in that game. The man even scored a goal, for Christ's sake. So it's weird, it's almost like the Rangers jersey is too heavy for him. He just doesn't seem like he fancies it, and that's really, really unfortunate, because he's terrifically talented. And it's obviously worth noting he was one of the 4 players that was dragged off in the behind the doors friendly, which Gerrard called some of his players absolutely embarrassing. But unlike the rest of them who was pulled off in that game, Barisic was given a chance versus Kilmarnock, the last game of the season, which I think was the last roll of the dice to see if he could save his Rangers career, and he was at fault for both goals. Yes, it was a very, very, very soft penalty. If I'm honest, it shouldn't even be a penalty, but you go back and look at it, he's got the wrong side, he lets the guy get a run, it does give him a tug and gives the referee a decision to make. So I think he failed his last audition to be at Rangers next season, and I think we will move on from Bonabere Barisic. Now the next player that's going to be on my list is going to be Wes Foderingham, and before I go any further, I just want to point out, just because these players are on my list doesn't mean I want to force them out the door. I don't think they're good enough, I want rid of them. It's just why I actually think will happen. I think Rangers will move on from them, because I didn't want Barisic to leave. There's a hell of a talented football player in there, and if he could just adjust to Scottish football and stay clear of injuries, he could be absolutely fantastic for us. But I think he will move on, and I think Wes Foderingham will move on in this summer as well, which is annoying, because if you followed this channel for a long time, you know I rate Fods very, very highly. I have done for a long time. You go back and look at it, who was in front of him when he was the starting goalkeeper? Some of the worst centre-backs we've ever had, and some of the worst teams, yet he put in some good performances in those terrible, terrible teams. And when he has been called up this season and in the cup games, I think he's never put one single foot wrong. He's saved penalties, he's made last ditch saves. Foderingham is a very, very good goalkeeper, and I think he's the best number 2 in the country. And if you're looking at the Scottish teams, I think he would start in every single team. And I think if we had assigned Foderingham and played him in this defence, like the team we've got now with the Arfields, the Stephen Davis, the Goldsons, the Katic in front of him, an actual Rangers team, I think not many people would want Foderingham to move on. It's just the bad memories of those bad teams that kind of taints Fod's legacy. And you hear all the rave reviews about Robbie McCrory and the youth academy, the fact that he's just been loaned out for 6 months. It looks like he's been propped up as the successor to Alan McGregor, and I just think Foderingham won't sit for another year being happy to play in the odd game here or there, or just playing in the cups. I think someone will come in and get him, because the appearances that he has put in this season, I think he showed that he's still a very, very good goalkeeper, and that is why I think he will move on in the summer. And last but not least, is it going to be Captain Tavernier? Is it going to be Alfredo Morelos? Of course not. I wouldn't sell Tavernier for all the tea in China. With those stats, we will never be able to replicate. And Alfredo Morelos, I think he's hurt his value and reputation. I think it's took a hit with his latest red cards. I don't think the money that's going to be offered in the summer will be good enough to tempt Rangers into selling. So I think those two are at least here until January. And the one I've actually chosen, which I actually think will move on in the summer, isn't going to be very popular. I know it's actually going to annoy a lot of people, but it's going to be Danny Candeas. And if I'm honest, now that I've said it, it annoys me as well, because everything you want in a player, hard work, determination, never say die attitude, that guy's GOAT, and he performs week in and week out that way. But the reason I think he will leave in the summer is I think it's become increasingly obvious now in this new formation that we actually play, he's just not good enough on the ball or consistent enough going forward. Yes, when he used to play in the right wing where we played with the two wingers, he'd get back and forward and help Tavernier, but Ryan Jack does that for Tavernier now. The way the formation actually works, we've got the extra body in the middle. How many times have you seen Ryan Jack go and fill in that role? So we didn't need necessarily the hard work and tracking back constantly. What we do need is consistency going forward and a better delivery with his final ball, which I think Daniel Candeas really lacks, and it's certainly been highlighted in the last 5 months. And I've seen some people say, oh, we want to get rid of someone who's won Rangers Player of the Year only a year ago. I just want to remind you guys what we've done to Darren McGregor, who now plays for Hibs. He won Player of the Year. He got punted out that summer. And I'm thinking about next season. I'm looking at the players we've already signed. We've got Jake Hasty, Jordan Jones and Greg Stewart, all players that can play out wide. Some wingers are going to need to go, and I just think Danny Candeas will unfortunately be one of them that we actually move on, because I just don't see him fitting in the new formation. And with that being said, I think that's the perfect way to end today's video, on a real lull. You know what I mean? Taking away one of the fan favourites, CJ. That will make you popular in the comment section. But again, I'm just being honest. It's just the way I actually see it. Now, it's time to jump over to Twitter and hear from the people. But before we go anywhere, you know what time it is, and this one is going to be a special sponsor break, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because yesterday it was announced by Lee Wallace's wife that he will be leaving the football club. As it stands today when I'm making this video, Rangers hasn't tweeted out anything, which really annoys me. Now, people's right to their opinion if you think he's a Rangers legend or not. For me, he definitely is. He stayed for the fight. The rest of them jumped down south, got a wee bit of money. Wallace continued to play for us. Yes, he was still on a high wage compared to the part-timers and stuff, but he could have made a hell of a lot more doing in England if he had went there when he had the chance. But he stayed for the fight. He got us back to where we belong. So for this sponsor break, it's dedicated to Mr. Lee Wallace himself. So raise your glasses, everyone. Grab your beverage. Grab whatever's in front of you. Let's toast the man ahead of his next step in his career. All the best, Lee. 3, 2, 1. Sponsor break. Just be quiet for 1 second, you'll hear Ross Watson crying. So I asked Twitter the exact same question as I asked you guys, who will be leaving in the summer. Janet at Rangers Mall writes in Lafferty, Fods and Danny Candeas. Robbie writes in Grezda, Morelos, Lafferty, Candeas, Anik, Holt, Herrera, Hudson. Callum Bruce writes in Grezda because he has done nothing, so get him off the books. Ross Watson writes Grezda, Lafferty, Barisic, Holt, Herrera and Lee Hudson. And the last 2 or 3 that we'll read out, the first one comes in from John Gallagher. He writes in Holt, Herrera, Forningham, Lafferty, Grezda, Barisic, Morelos, Dorrance, well, that's a surprise, Wallace and Hardy. And the last one we're actually going to be reading out in tonight's video comes from, we'll scroll away down and we'll stop it right here. Thank you so much for getting involved, by the way. There's so many comments. Stephen Malcolmson writes in the last one. He writes Grezda, Docherty, Lafferty, Rosser, Dorrance and Morelos. That one surprised me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, but you've heard from the people, you've heard from myself. If you haven't done so already, you know what to do by now. And as always, if you're free on June 8th and you want to help raise some money for Sam H, which is a mental health and suicide prevention charity, the link for that is down there in the description below. These people need your help, so if you're free and you want to come watch a wee bit of football, the link is down there alongside the Patreon account as well. Shout out to the 51 strong. That's helping to support the channel week in and week out. I've been CJ Nova92. Thanks so much for watching, and bye.